So now I'm to the point where I need to install a little ladder slash stair system. So I'm going to show you what I did. I'm going to recycle these posts from the old play set. They are in pretty good shape, right, Poppy? Mm-hmm. What I'm doing is I dug some holes here to just go ahead and use the whole length of this thing. And then they've already got an angle cut in them. And that's going to fit nicely here. That angle happens to be, I think it's around 60 degrees or so. So what I'm going to do is run steps this way, and they will be blocked up like this. And I'm going to do something a little different. You could cut a notch in it like this all the way down, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently because this is an older pole. It's probably fine to do that, but I'm just going to add a little bit more oomph to it. So I'm going to show you a different way to do that. I'm going to attach them here, level it all out, or plumb it, whatever you want to call it, and I'll secure these to the ground. So essentially the stairs will look like this. There'll be a series of steps here that go down. We're going to do 4 steps, and basically what I want to do is once I find this angle is I want to put the cleats where these steps will go. So what I determined for this particular play set, it looked like a spacing of about every 11.5 inches would work good for a step. So the trick is to get the step nice and level with this angle. Once I find where each steps go, what you could typically do with 4x4 like this is you could cut a recessed notch and then set the step in there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add another plank of board and then basically cut out sections for where the step is going to be. So I'm going to take this pressure treated 2x4 and then I'm going to cut it to match basically this board, and then everywhere a step goes I'll just cut a notch, cut a notch, cut a notch. I've already got an angle in the board. Like I said, I think it's about 60 degrees for this play set, so I'm going to make that angle cut there. So to match that angle, I'm just going to kind of trace a line and then flip that over, and I will cut this angle now. And then once that's cut, I will secure this to that using some deck screws. So a quick tip on how to find this angle using a speed square. So for reference, I drew a 45-degree line simply by tracing the speed square, that angle, and if we go like this, basically you take your pivot point like this, go to here where it lines up, you look down here, you'll see a 45. So we know that that line's 45 degree. So for this line, which is the angle of our cut that goes to the treehouse, we come here and we pivot right on the end of the line there till this matches up. You look down here and guess what? It's right around 60 degrees, just like I thought. Cool. Now that I got this 2x4 roughly cut to length and to angle of my 4x4, I'm going to go ahead and tack it off with a couple screws, one at each end, and then I'm going to come back and screw it off once I find out specifically where I'm going to put the stairs. Now I went ahead and I have the top part of my steps marked, kind of eyeball them and make sure they look like they're in a good spot. And then what I'm going to do is I want to make sure those are level, and one way to do that is to temporarily place this at the right angle it needs to be, so this is nice and flush up against there. And then all I need to do is take a level like this, come to this line, and then if I find that it's nice and level, I can mark the line. So then I can transfer that with the speed square all the way down, and then I can trace this onto the other side, which should be good to go. So I found the corresponding angle on the speed square, and then I will just transfer that to all my other marks, and then I will get the width of my step board here. I'm just reusing some old step boards that are like they're about 1 1/4 or so wide. We need to make the space for the cutout, and we know that's about 1 1/4. Make a mark. I'll just use this board to mark our cutout for the board, and then I'll do the same thing for the other side. And then I'm going to cut these out. That's what we're going to cut out, and then our step will go right in there like that. And then we'll screw this down to be nice and secure, and then this 2x4 essentially become a series of cleats that our steps will sit on. So now I just need to cut these sections out. And what I did is basically set my saw depth to the depth of the 2x4. And I can just cut these right out. Be good to go. Beautiful. So just cut the rest out. Alright, so now that I got all the notches cut, went ahead and I put the bottom step in as well as the top step. I'm going to tack those off. I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to toenail from the cleat into the step itself. I'll do that on each side, and then I'll put the bottom stair on as well. I may put the other two on, tack them off. Then I'll set everything up, get the stairs set, then I'll come back and screw them off with a few more screws. Okay, that one's in. Now I'll do the same thing to the bottom. Right, so I went ahead and screwed all the steps off. Now I'm going to try to place it. So I'll brace it off like that, then I'm going to pour in some foam to lock it in place. So we're going to fill this with some expanding foam, and that shoulder, and I've got this tacked off. We're good to go. So we've got the foam under the steps, and tomorrow we should be climbing. I'm gonna put a few more, I'll either put some bolts or more screws up in the top there, but we should have a pretty functional place set because the stairs are in.
A cat and a kitty over there, and it says ball and some soft seats. I don't want to talk about the treehouse.